Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rux, I'm Western Tropical Astrologer, and today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius coming up on the 19th, 20th of December, depending on where you're based in the world. It's happening on the 20th of December at 1:43 a.m. GMT time, so you can of course adjust that for your own time zone. This new moon is taking place at 28 degrees 24 minutes of Sagittarius. So that means that if you have in your natal chart planets or angles or important points around 27, 28, 29 degrees of the mutable signs, you are going to feel this new moon the most. Who are the mutable signs? What are the mutable signs? Well, of course, Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces. You might be wondering who's going to like this new moon the most? Let me tell you. Those of you who have planets or angles or important points around 27 to 29 degrees of Aquarius, Libra, Aries, and Leo. So the new moon is going to harmoniously aspect your natal placements. Now, if you have no clue what I'm talking about, then let me explain. I'm talking about your natal chart, which is the map of the sky at the time when you were born. How can you find out what your natal chart looks like? You need to know your date, time, and place of birth, and you can go online on websites such as astro.com or astro-seek.com, and you put in your birthday details. The time of birth, by the way, is super important for accuracy. So once you input your details, you're going to see what your natal chart looks like. It's going to be generated, and you're going to get a list. On Astro-Seek, it's on the right-hand side. On astro.com, if I remember correctly, it's right underneath your natal chart. You're going to get a list of your natal planetary placements. You're going to see where your sun is placed, where your moon is based, what the degree of your rising sign, of your ascendant is. By the way, some people have asked me, is the ascendant the same thing as the rising sign? Yes, kind of. So the ascendant is the exact degree of your rising sign. But if you're sort of like confused, let's say if you have your rising sign in Libra, that means that you are a Libra ascendant. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It's the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time when you were born. So again, please generate your natal chart so that you can follow along, so that you can keep track of what astrological events impact you the most, because you will not feel every single astrological event. You are only going to feel the ones that activate in some shape or form your natal chart. Otherwise, life would probably be incredibly overwhelming, stressful. It would just be way too much. But let me get back to the new moon in Sagittarius. So the new moon is going to be disposited by Jupiter in Cancer. This is beautiful. This is lovely. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Guess what? So Jupiter is in a really strong position. So we have the ruler of the new moon in a very strong position. What does that tell us? It tells us that whatever fresh start is coming up at the time of this new moon, and again, let us recap. A new moon brings with it a new beginning. It is the planting of the seeds moment. A full moon is the culmination of things. We see the outcomes, we see the results. Something peaks and then it sort of like starts to dwindle to make room for other things in our lives. So the new moon sort of like opens up the path. It's generally a great time to set intentions, to kick off new things. By the way, if you do want to kick off new things, my recommendation would be to wait at least, some would say 15 hours, I would say at least 12 hours after the new moon actually takes place to kick off, whether like it's a new business or a new project or whatever it is that you want to kick off, so that the moon has had some time to step away from the sun. Okay, so I repeat, this new moon is happening on the 20th of December at 1:43 a.m. GMT time. So you can adjust that for your own time zone if you want to use this for electional astrology. Electional astrology is that branch of astrology that is concerned with choosing the most auspicious time to start a new endeavor. Okay, so Jupiter in Cancer, fantastic. It's exalted. It's telling us that we're really intuitive. We are very much in our feelings. That's what I was about to say. So we have a very strong intuition at the time of this new moon. We're probably going to let it guide us. I would actually recommend taking your intuition as your guide. And your intuition is not your anxiety. I think that's very important to sort of clarify. Sometimes people think, oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. That's not intuition. That is anxiety. That's sort of like gut feeling that we get around maybe a specific person, or when it comes to a specific situation, is sort of like it's a reaction in the moment when we are faced with something. Otherwise, if you get this sort of like weird feeling about something that you think is coming for you or to you or at you in the future, that is basically projecting anxiety based off of prior events, based off of prior experiences into your future. So I'm not telling you trust your anxiety. I'm telling you trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling. And also your intuition generally is like on the inside, metaphorically speaking, like a whisper, like that sort of like subtle kind of cue to go down one path or another. Anxiety is quite loud. Anxiety is panicky. So I think it's important to discern what things should feel like on the inside. So Jupiter in Cancer at the time of this new moon is going to trine Saturn and Neptune. So I feel like we are ready to grow. This new moon is very strongly focused on growth. It is very strongly focused on expansion of some sorts. It's very strongly focused on getting outside of our comfort zones. So kind of exploring new terrain, so to speak. But we are ready to grow in a slow and steady manner, in such a way that we don't sort of upset the apple cart completely and, what's the saying, throw out the baby with the bathwater and all of that. So we are kind of like ready to make a plan for growth and to sort of like slowly but surely gravitate towards it. We are very inspired at the time of this new moon. I will say this, we might feel guided by a higher power, by divinity, by a strong sense of meaning and purpose. Jupiter is very strongly associated with meaning in astrology, so finding meaning. We might be very strongly guided by a set of beliefs, by a certain life philosophy, by a strong connection with, like I said, the divine, the mystical aspects, the spiritual aspects of life. We are looking for meaning somehow at the time of this new moon. And whether we, consciously acknowledge it or not, everything has to have meaning in our lives in order for it to feel fulfilling. Because if it doesn't have meaning, then what is the point? I mean, nihilism is well, it's a certain life philosophy, but it is probably a very depressing one. I'm gonna say it. So ask yourselves, what is meaningful for you, and what do you want to explore moving forward that feels meaningful and that is aligned with your beliefs, that is aligned with your worldview, that is aligned with your life philosophy, and do you want to explore something new in alignment with your beliefs? Are you ready for an expansion of your horizons? I mean, this new moon is probably going to expand our horizons in some shape or form. There's a focus on growth, like I said, on adventure, on exploration. And adventure doesn't have to be, oh, you're going to climb a mountain, although it could be that. An adventure could be sort of a foray into a new topic of interest. Speaking of a new topic of interest, in terms of the topics that might be at the forefront of our mind at the time of this new moon, and also on a mundane level, at a collective level, the topics that might feel very relevant, I am going to mention education. So Sagittarius is a sign very strongly focused on education, so education might be in the news, the academic sphere, the academic space. I'm also going to mention traveling, obviously. That is one very kind of like straightforward way of experiencing growth in this lifetime, of exploring different countries, different cultures. Religion, faith, the legal sector and the legal environment are probably also going to be in the spotlight. New laws are probably going to be passed in some shape or form. I'm also looking at the publishing industry, the publishing sector, because that's also very Jupiterian and Sagittarian as well. Sagittarius is, archetypally speaking, the storyteller. So there's a new story starting to unfold in our lives at the time of this new moon. What's it gonna be about? And what drives this story forward, or what drives the main character forward from a meaning perspective? I don't know. That's up to you to figure out. It's probably going to be different for everyone. Can we expect news about new laws impacting the travel industry, the travel sector, potentially immigration, potentially foreign visas, etc.? Yes, that is very much a possibility. The Sagittarius Gemini axis is also concerned with commerce, import, export, to be more precise. So are there likely to be some developments on the tariffs front? Yes, potentially as well. The global landscape is going to be in the spotlight, so to speak. Now, going back to the theme of the sort of like greater themes of this new moon, beyond the main topics of interest, it feels like an optimistic time. It feels like we're ready for a new chapter, and we've got faith, we're optimistic, we feel inspired, but we also feel scared at the same time. I mean, that's the nature of new beginnings, right? The new moon, I will say this, is conjunct Venus. So again, we've got both benefics involved at the time of this new moon. So Venus adds a little bit of sweetness, but it is in a tense aspect to Saturn and to Neptune. It's actually separating from a square to Saturn, and it's applying to a square to Neptune. So we may feel like the biggest hurdles are behind us when it comes to this fresh start that we're embarking upon. However, we might still be kind of like reeling after dealing with some difficulties, some challenges, some hurdles, some restrictions. At the same time, the square to Neptune is saying, we're optimistic about the future, but we are a little bit confused. We may lack the full-blown clarity that we need to move forward with this specific aspect in our lives. It can be a time of uncertainty, a time of ambiguity, a time of confusion even around how things will work from a practical perspective. I am going to say it. And do be careful, because Neptune can bring in a heavy dose of idealism / fantasy / imagination, and that might not necessarily be grounded in reality. I mean, ideals are fantastic. We need ideals in order to aspire towards something, but sometimes the translation into the 3D reality is not exact. I mean, it rarely is. Let's just face it. Last but not least, if you're looking to find meaning at this time, you can do so by helping others, by being generous, by being merciful, by being kind, and by making them feel welcome. I will say that. Now, before we go into the update for each of the 12 zodiac signs, let me remind you, especially those of you who are new to my channel, that I'm a full-time consulting astrologer. So if you want to work with me, I work with clients one-to-one on a day-to-day basis. I've left a link to my website, both in the description box as well as in the pinned comments. On my website, you can purchase a personal astrological consultation with me. Again, if you're a new client, let me say this, the option to go for, the service to go for on my website is the 1 hour, 15 minutes Zoom consultation. If you're an existing client, you know the drill already. There's other options for you also. The year ahead forecast, the 30 minutes follow-up consultation if you have specific questions that you want us to address. So you know what to be on the lookout for on my website, written in the stars-astrology.com. And if you're thinking, Rux, what sort of topics do you cover in your astrological consultations, in your readings? I am going to say this first and foremost: make sure that you have your date, time, and place of birth, especially the time of birth, like I said, because it's super important for accuracy. Secondly, I do natal chart interpretations. I actually believe that everything starts with a natal chart. But let's say you've had your natal chart analyzed before, you're familiar with it. I do forecasting. I mean, we can look into the future and see what life chapter you're in, how you can make the most of it, what themes are likely to come up for you in the next 12 months, what sort of challenges, what sort of opportunities you can expect to deal with, how you can make the most of them, how to best prepare for whatever's coming your way. Of course, astrology is symbolic. It doesn't predict concrete manifestation. It's a symbolic language. You are a co-creator of your reality. However, astrology helps you work with the cosmos, with the cosmic tides, with the cosmic cycles, as opposed to swimming upstream. I also do compatibility readings. I also do relocation astrology using a mix of astrocartography and relocated charts. Electional astrology, if you're looking to, like I said, maybe choose the best day for a wedding, or maybe launch a business, and so on. So written in the stars-astrology.com. Once again, the link is both in the description box as well as in the pinned comments. Before you jump to the update for your rising sign, for your ascendant, let me say this again. I've basically given it away. Please listen to the update for your ascendant, for your rising sign, because these general horoscopes are built with the ascendant, with the rising sign in mind. And by the way, if you want to add the most important astrological events straight to your calendar based off of the descriptions that I take you through in my videos, and especially in the monthly horoscope, there is a website. It's called astroincalendar.com. You're also going to find this in the description box and in the pinned comments. Astro in Calendar is essentially a tool that extracts from my monthly horoscopes, and you're gonna see that when you go into the website. By the way, it also offers a 30-day free trial. So Astro Calendar essentially extracts the most important transits, the most important dates of the month, and together with the descriptions from my videos, it adds them, it slots them into your calendar, regardless of what kind of calendar you're using. So there's different calendars you can choose, your Outlook calendar, your Gmail calendar. So if you want to take it out for a spin, if you want to give it a go, astroincalendar.com. Test it out and make sure that you basically remember what's going on which days. You don't have to remember. It's actually going to be in your calendar. You're going to have like a little event that shows you, hey, today the sun is trining Jupiter or something like that. And I repeat, you also get the description there. So without further ado, let us jump into the update for Aries suns and Aries risings. 20th of December, active. 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon happening in your 9th house, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer in your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. I love this new moon, Aries, for you. I believe that you're finding a renewed sense of meaning, of purpose, of joy even, when it comes to your personal life, when it comes to your relationship with family members, when it comes to maybe understanding a lot better why your family, why maybe your ancestors took certain decisions throughout their lives. I feel like some of you might be forgiving some people, and maybe you're not doing that kind of like face to face. Maybe you are kind of like just doing that in your heart. You're reflecting, you're looking back, and you're saying, okay, now I understand why my mom kind of acted in this way. Now I understand what was going on in my home, sort of like growing up. I also believe you may decide to prioritize spending more time with family members, potentially traveling to see them more. There is also a possibility that a family member might be experiencing a fresh start when it comes to their education, when it comes to their sort of like involvement with foreign lands and foreign countries. There is also a possibility, Aries, that you might be experiencing a fresh start on the educational front, and as a result, you might have to move. So let's say you've been accepted into a prestigious sort of PhD program, and it's somewhere outside of your kind of city that you're currently living in. You gotta move forward. You gotta decide, am I gonna say yes to this? Am I gonna say no to this? I am inclined to believe you're probably going to say yes, and you're probably going to be thinking, okay, I need to pack my bags and set the wheels in motion. There's also a possibility for those of you who are married that this new moon puts the spotlight on in-laws and maybe a fresh start in connection with in-laws, and maybe in your relationship with them. But it could also be a fresh start for in-laws in general. Maybe they're moving, maybe they are buying a house, maybe they are selling their house. It feels like a new chapter, and it feels like a chapter of renewed sort of like faith in the future. I also believe that this new moon is sort of like putting into perspective your connection with maybe your roots in your home country. And especially for those of you who are traveling a lot or who live abroad, you might have kind of more faith once again in your people. I know that maybe sounds very dramatic, but I will put it out there. Last but not least, this could also be the beginning of a new chapter when it comes to your real estate sector, maybe when it comes to your home and property sector. The ninth house is also connected with legal matters. So maybe you hear back from a legal entity, a legal institution, when it comes to a matter concerning your home, and the news is probably good, I'd say, and the challenges are somehow behind you. Now, if you have applied for foreign residency, you may very well get it. The new moon is in a square to Neptune, so there might be a few more blocks or a few more sort of issues to sort out further down the line. But for the most part, I believe you are in a good place when it comes to visa, foreign residency, and so on. And speaking of visa and foreign residency, some of you might start the process of applying for a visa, of applying for a green card, and so on. That is Aries. My dear Taurus, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. New moon in Sagittarius in your 8th house. Taurians, you're either receiving money or you are paying money. You could be receiving some sort of a bursary, scholarship for your education. You could be paying someone for a class, a course. You could be receiving news connected with a loan, a credit card, maybe a mortgage. You could also start paying for something, maybe in installments. So maybe you're paying for a course in installments or for a car in installments. I do believe some Taurians, especially Taurus risings, could be paying money for a car or could be getting some form of financial kind of like agreement or arrangement in place. Like I said, it could be something like an installments sort of based arrangement. There's also a possibility that your partner, if you are in a relationship, could be receiving good news connected with their financial situation. Maybe they're getting a raise, maybe they're getting a bonus, and they might be directing some of that money towards their education, towards classes, courses, but maybe also towards, it could be a car. I will say it again. It feels like you're experiencing a transformation, Taurians, when it comes to also talking about the things that might have caused stress, anxiety, frustration in the past, I'd say. So I feel like you're ready to speak more openly. You're ready to speak more from a place of vulnerability about issues that have historically not been very easy to deal with. If you have siblings, a sibling could also be going through a significant financial transformation. Maybe they're getting a new job. That's very possible. Maybe they're a little bit stressed. They're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to learn so much. And you're kind of like there supporting them, holding space for them and saying, yeah, come on, you got this. You can do this. Some of you could also start learning more about money, the economy, finances, investments, possibly. There is a possibility that some Taurus risings might feel inspired to invest in something. Now, this is not financial advice. You're completely responsible for what you do with your money, Taurians. But it feels like the topic of investments could come up. The new moon is in a square to Neptune and to Saturn, but more so to Neptune because it's already separated from the square to Saturn. Whatever you commit to from a financial perspective, my recommendation would be to be a little bit more cautious than you normally would, because you might feel very optimistic about something, and the reality is that you just don't know how things are going to turn out. You just can't have the certainty that things will go according to the plan. There is also a possibility that some of you could be experiencing a transformation when it comes to your friendship circle. For better or for worse. I basically see it as being for better. However, the reason why you go through a transformation could be a painful one. So I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say a friend is struggling with something and maybe you haven't kept in touch with them as much. And now that you hear about this issue that they're dealing with, you decide to reach out, you decide to send them a message, and you end up becoming much closer. So it could play out in this way as well. If you need help with anything, do not hesitate at this point in time, Taurians, to reach out to friends, siblings, I'm even going to say colleagues, because they can help you with very useful information. Gemini suns and Gemini risings, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a new moon in your 7th house. Geminis, we've got a new collaboration, very, very likely. It could be a very lucrative collaboration that is taking shape, or that is starting to take shape around this time. So if you are thinking about reaching out to someone, if you're thinking about working with someone, if you're thinking about entering into a business partnership, I gotta say, this new moon looks good. This new moon looks like you're both gonna make money, like it's gonna be a win-win, like you're going to be going into business with someone that knows what they're doing, that values you, that values your skill set, that maybe complements really nicely your own skill set. Some of you could be signing some really important professional deals around this time. A new client could come in as well. I feel like these people see the best of you. So whether it's a business collaborator or a client, they see the best in you. They have access to the best of you as well. However, I do want to put it out there. The new moon is in a square to Neptune, so they might have some really high expectations, and you might need to manage their expectations because they could be really far-fetched. There's also a possibility that some of you might be entering into a new romantic relationship. I'm going to put it out there, but it's probably not necessarily with a new person. If you're single, it's probably with someone that you know already, and maybe you've worked together before. Maybe you've made their acquaintance a long time ago, but it sort of like evolved into something more. If you're already in a relationship, there is a possibility that your partner could be experiencing some sort of a fresh start when it comes to their family, when it comes to maybe one of their parents. I feel like it's a fresh start for the better overall. And your partner has really kind of high hopes for this whole thing in terms of how it's going to turn out. Once again, however, the reality is that Neptune is involved and you don't know what you don't know. They don't know what they don't know either. So maybe it is worth kind of like digging a little bit deeper, or maybe recommending to your partner that they dig a little bit deeper into this whole new situation. There's also a possibility you might start working with someone one-to-one with some form of an advisor, Geminis, around this time. Now, when I say an advisor, it could be literally an advisor, it could be a financial advisor, but it could also be a counselor type of person, a coach type of person, therapist, potentially. So you might start paying someone to work one-to-one with them. I believe they can help you. They can inspire you. I also, however, believe that you might need to take with a little bit of a pinch of salt whatever it is that they promise to you, because they might not have any way of guaranteeing results, even though maybe on paper they are saying, yes, 100%. We will deliver these results, or I'm going to help you deliver these results. But that could also be sort of good marketing, let's say. Cancerians, Cancer suns and Cancer risings. My fellow Cancerians, I'm a Cancer rising myself. This new moon is probably bringing up new work, new jobs, new work-related projects, Cancerians, a fresh start in the workplace. Literally, a lot of you could be starting a new job around this time, or starting a new role, stepping into a new role. I feel like you are the right person. I'm like talking to me. You are the right person at the right time. You genuinely seem to be. I'm just gonna say it. So it feels like some sort of an opportunity finds you from a professional perspective, and you're the right person at the right time. There may be a part of you that believes that is suffering a little bit from the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome. But I wouldn't dwell on it too much. Jupiter, which is the ruler of the new moon, is in a harmonious aspect to Saturn. So I'm going to say something super cheesy. If you believe in yourselves, and if you are willing to put in the work, and if you're willing to be patient with yourselves and sort of like pick things up as you go along, you're probably going to do really well in this new job. Now, if you've been thinking about starting applications for like a new job, or starting the process for this, I would also do that around the time of this new moon. Some of you could also be kicking off a new health regimen. That is a possibility. You might feel ready to finally invest in your health, wellness, and well-being. Although I believe that's probably something that's been on your mind and that you've been really kind of curious and inspired by, this sort of like health journey, especially as of this summer when Jupiter entered, so as of June when Jupiter entered Cancer. So it may have been a good few months already since you began your health wellness journey. The new moon is in a tense aspect to Neptune and Saturn. Now, if you're starting a new job, there's a possibility that this might involve some traveling, maybe some traveling that you're not necessarily always really comfortable with, just because you can't plan ahead for it. So I'm just going to put it out there, but it might come with a job. If you're starting a new health regimen, I believe you might need to change part of your sort of belief system or philosophy when it comes to what is healthy and what is unhealthy, when it comes to routines in general. And last but not least, there's also a possibility you might start working with someone who's based abroad, and initially maybe there's a few kind of frustrations or difficulties that you need to deal with because you've got a different style of working compared to theirs. They come from a different cultural background. They work differently. And initially it could feel like it's a bit kind of like clunky and confusing as to why things are not immediately falling into place. But definitely, I believe this is all surmountable kind of stuff. Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. 20th of December, active. 3 days before, 3 days after, we've got a new one in your 5th house. Now, technically, Leos, I'm going to say this. This should be a fun time, technically. So you're very focused on having fun. You might be more invested in kind of like doing what makes you happy, spending time with the people that make you happy, spending time with your loved ones. You might be very focused on your passions, your hobbies. You might actually decide to prioritize them in a manner that's not necessarily very obvious or visible to the public. Let's say. So you might decide in private to, I don't know, spend more time playing the guitar or studying astrology, for instance. However, I also believe that there may be some things coming up at the time of this new moon that you didn't see coming. So some things that are maybe happening or that have been happening behind your back, and now they're sort of like emerging. Now they're becoming more visible. What could it be? A few things. So some of you could start a secret romantic relationship, a secret, I don't want to call it affair because it's not just an affair that could be secret. Maybe it's literally like the only relationship, romantic relationship that you're in, but you just decide to keep it private. So that could be the case. There is also a possibility, especially for those of you who are trying anything in this direction, that a pregnancy might come up, but it's not obvious once more. So maybe some of you, maybe some Leo risings might get pregnant, but initially you don't know about it. So just keep that at the back of your mind in case you are actively trying for this. There's also a possibility that you might find out something that your children, if you have kids already, you might find out something that they've been hiding from you. And maybe you do feel a little bit disappointed because obviously they've kind of misunderstood what trust is about. Are you able to get over this? Yes, absolutely. Will the relationship with your kids, or at least with one of them, experience a reset, experience a transformation? Yes, also absolutely. I do believe you can be the bigger person here. You can be the compassionate one, the empathetic one, the forgiving one. But at the same time, you might also need to set down some ground rules and say, okay, you've done this once. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen again. I feel like you might need to restrict children in some shape or form around this time. So again, kind of like new rules type of thing. There is also a possibility that you might feel like you have to give up on some of the things that you love or do less of them because you've got other goals from a financial perspective, or maybe because you together with a partner have other goals as a couple. And I don't necessarily believe you're thrilled with that. I mean, who is? But you're probably going to be willing to make the sacrifice in order to achieve the greater goal, you could say. Virgo suns and Virgo risings. 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a new one in your 4th house of home, ruled by Jupiter in the 11th house. This is lovely. This is absolutely lovely. Okay. So first and foremost, there's a possibility that some of you could be moving into a new home. Some of you could be moving in with a friend. Some of you could be welcoming friends into your home. Some of you could be setting new goals for the future connected with your home and living situation. So maybe you have decided, okay, we're gonna buy an apartment. We need to save money for the deposit. We need to create a budget. We need to be more careful with our expenses. So you could be setting this goal together with someone else, with a significant other, with a family member. But I feel like there is this kind of like fresh, exciting, optimistic, enthusiastic energy materializing in the home space. You could also be, speaking of the home space, you could also be resetting your relationship with a family member. I feel like you could become more friendly towards them if you've been having a bit of a difficult time connecting with them, communicating with them. Maybe they haven't changed dramatically, but you've changed. You've changed your perspective upon what this relationship can look like. Family is in the spotlight. There is a chance that a family member might have some exciting announcement, something about growth, something about expansion, something about a new adventure, maybe something about their family growing. I don't know, maybe a sibling is letting you know, hey, I'm pregnant, or something along those lines. I feel like you're really looking forward towards the future around this time, Virgos, especially when it comes to your personal life. The most difficult aspects of your life, especially when it comes to relationships with family members, relationships with your significant other, if you are in a partnership, difficulties are behind you somehow. And you are very excited about the future. There's also a lot of unknowns when it comes to the future, but it looks like you're not going to have to face them together. It looks like you're not going to have to face them alone. You will probably be able to face them together with someone else, be them family, friends, a partner, and so on. The new moon is in a square to Neptune and Saturn in the 7th house. There's also a possibility that if you are in a relationship, a partner could be going through a reset in terms of their work. Maybe they're getting a new job, maybe they're going in a new direction, job-wise, and so on. I feel like you can be very forgiving at this time, my dear Virgos. And maybe there are some people in your life, especially family members, that need your forgiveness. And once again, I believe you can be the bigger person. Potentially. One other thing. You could hear from friends that you maybe haven't heard from in a long time. And it may feel like they're sort of like returning to you, or maybe moving closer to you. I want to say returning to you if, I don't know, maybe they've been living abroad and so on. So it could feel like friends are coming closer to home. I believe that's very exciting, but hey, see what happens, Virgos. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings. New moon, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after, in your third house. Libras, you've got something new that you need to learn, and my recommendation would be to go for it. It looks like you're going to have to study something new. It's probably going to be something connected with your career. It's probably something connected with your career progression, with your career advancement. If you've been thinking about getting a certification, if you've been thinking about getting on board with like a new course, once again, the coast is clear, the path is open, and it will probably be very useful from a professional perspective. You might also start maybe commuting into the office a lot more. I feel like there's a reset of what your day-to-day looks like connected with your career. And it may be connected with your daily sort of commute or mode of transportation that you use. You could also be starting a very significant conversation around this time, maybe with someone that can help you grow from a career perspective, from a professional perspective. It could be a conversation with maybe a mentor, maybe a coach, maybe even your boss. So you could kind of start planting the seeds when it comes to maybe a future promotion, when it comes to your advancement within the company. Is it a good time to do that? Yes, absolutely. Are they going to tell you something along the lines of, hey, it's going to take a while. Hey, this is not going to happen overnight. Yes, that is also a very, very strong possibility. Is that something that should put you off? Absolutely, absolutely not. News about your sector, about your industry, about your professional path, very, very possible around this time. News that may, I want to say, initially they might worry you, but I don't believe you should be worried. I believe you should be prepared to learn more, to grow, and to stretch yourselves from an educational perspective, my dear Libras. I also believe that siblings, cousins, neighbors may be in the spotlight, and colleagues around this time. They might need your help with something. They might need your support. Maybe you're not necessarily feeling that prepared. Maybe you're thinking, oh, who am I to give them advice? Who am I to support them on this journey? I believe you know what you're talking about. I believe you can absolutely support them on this journey. Last but not least, you might start writing something or communicating about something or researching something that around this time, which is going to prove really useful and very, very constructive when it comes to your career progression, Libras. So a lot of good stuff coming up, even though initially you might be a tiny little bit worried, because I feel like you're thinking, oh, I'm unprepared, or I don't know that much, or am I really the right person for the job? My dear Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings, 20th of December, active, 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a new one in your second house of income. Scorpios, I believe you are making a lot of money at the time of this new moon, or there is a door opening up for you that says, hey, if you walk down this path, you're going to make a lot of money. I kid you not, the possibility of prosperity, increased abundance, increased income is so strong, Scorpios. I mean, who am I to tell you how to live your lives? But I believe it would be probably foolish. It sounded better in my head. It would probably be foolish not to take advantage of this. And maybe some of you are thinking, hey, Rux, nothing's happening. What are you talking about? I haven't received a new job offer. I haven't gotten a raise. I'm like, but what sort of action have you taken in this direction? Have you updated your LinkedIn? Have you spoken to your boss? Have you applied to any new jobs? Have you increased your prices? Have you thought about how you can maybe present your services if you're working for yourselves in a new way that would kind of warrant you increasing your prices? Essentially, to me, this looks like it's a very abundant new moon, but you've got to do something about it. You've got to kind of take a leap of faith in order to take advantage of the very fruitful sort of vibe in the sky. Fruitful in terms of its potential to bear fruit financially. I mean, yeah, maybe I haven't used fruitful in the best way, wording wise, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. There's also a possibility you might start paying for your education around this time. You might start investing in your education a lot more. You might start investing more into your spiritual life, into your connection with the divine, maybe also into your work with a coach, a mentor, or a spiritual guide. Is that going to be useful? Is that going to be worth its price? Is that going to be a good investment for you, Scorpios? Now, of course, this is not financial advice, so please remember, take this as pure kind of like entertainment only. I believe so. I believe it will be a great investment. So if you're thinking, should I embark upon that course? Should I hire that coach? The answer is probably yes, because they are going to help you see how you've been selling yourselves short. That's what I believe. There's also a possibility you might decide to pay more around this time, or to prioritize, not to necessarily to pay more, but to prioritize in terms of expenses and budgeting, to prioritize travel, to prioritize education, and to prioritize activities that inspire you. The new moon is in a tense aspect to Neptune and Saturn, I will say. So maybe you're thinking, am I going to have all of this money in the long term? Am I going to be willing to pay for this in the long term? Am I going to afford all of this in the long term? I believe so. I believe you paying for this big thing could also motivate you to make more money and to kind of like sell your services better or promote yourselves better. There's also a possibility you might start paying for something that you truly believe in for your kids. Now, what could that be? It could be, I don't know, extracurricular activities. You could send them to take, I don't know, like Spanish, English, French classes, or you could send them to ballet school or something along those lines. And again, maybe you do have some worries around, am I going to be able to afford this? Is this doable in the long term? I believe it is, but I also believe you need to set down some ground rules, very, very possibly. And if you are supporting them financially, kids in any shape or form, maybe it is worth kind of like reminding them what you expect of them, if you expect anything from them. So if you're, I don't know, paying for their tuition, school-wise, maybe you expect them to show you their, like, what sort of like grades they've scored or whatever it's called in the US. So yeah, do set down the kind of like ground rules if you do have any expectations. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. New moon, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after, in your first house, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th house. This is very interesting. So I feel like you're ready to grow, Sagittarians. I mean, you are on this sort of ongoing journey through life that is very strongly focused on growth and exploration and adventure and kind of like stepping outside of your comfort zone. I feel like you're ready to grow emotionally this time. You're ready to stretch yourselves. You are ready to take a good, long, hard look at what's going on the inside. Your fears, your anxieties, sources of inner chaos and turmoil. You are ready to evolve from that perspective. And that could potentially, for instance, involve you working with a therapist. It could also involve you journaling, meditating, reflecting on what has caused a sense of like anxiety, stress, fear in the past. The new moon is in a tense aspect to Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house of home. I feel like you are ready to distance yourself potentially a little bit from your past, from your roots, from maybe the way in which emotional and like inner kind of problems, let's say, were dealt with at home, or whatever kind of approach your parents had towards, let's say, transformation or towards crisis. You might decide, this is not for me, this doesn't work for me, I need to find my own path, I need to experiment for myself, and I don't have to keep repeating the patterns of the past. I feel like you are breaking some patterns of the past around this time, Sagittarius. Now, is that potentially going to be challenging when it comes to your relationship with certain family members? Yes, absolutely, 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 because you're disrupting the existing kind of like dynamic. You're disrupting the existing flow within the family. And I read this in a book. I didn't think of it myself. Someone much smarter thought about it. We tend to think that humans are wired for like searching happiness, or for like gravitating towards happiness. Apparently, that is wrong. Apparently, we are wired for the comfort zone. We just want subconsciously to experience more of the same, because that gives us a kind of like feeling of being in control. Many times it's fake, but hey. So are you going to, oh gosh, metaphorically break a few eggs to make an omelet? Yes, very, very possibly. That may very well be the case. Some of you could also be experiencing a fresh start when it comes to your living situation. So you could be moving into a new home, or decide to start the process of looking for a new home, of maybe renovating the home, of transforming the home that you live in right now. There is also a possibility that you might let someone know, potentially someone that lives with you, that you no longer want to live with them, or that they need to move out. If you're not moving out, maybe they need to move. Maybe they need to move out. You might also be starting the process of transformation internally and externally at the same time, Sagittarians, especially Sagittarius risings. I mean, it's one of the basic laws of the universe: as within, so without; as above, so below. You might feel ready to experience a dramatic rebirth on multiple planes, physically, emotionally. I mean, when I say physically, I even mean appearance-wise. I would not be surprised if some Sagittarians kind of like cut their hair, or like colored their hair, or like donated all of their clothes. You are ready, I will say, to be reborn. And that may very well warrant a dramatic change from a physical perspective. Capricorns, Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. My dear Capricorns, this new moon, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. It's happening in your 12th house. And I gotta say, you are worried. You are stressing out. Why are you stressing out? Don't worry so much, Capricorns. The reality is that the worst is probably not going to happen. But are you going to be facing a few major fears around this time? Yes. They will probably come to the surface. Now, some of these fears might have something to do with your relationship sector. Maybe you're worried. I mean, this might be very dramatic, but maybe you're worried that your partner's going to leave you, or that they no longer like you, or they no longer care about you, or they feel distant. If any of these fears pop up around this time, or if anything pops up when it comes to your relationship sector, Jupiter, which is the ruler of the new moon, is actually in a harmonious aspect to Saturn and Neptune in your third house of communication. Please talk about it. Please open up. Please say something to the other person, as opposed to retreating in your kind of like cocoon and in your own bubble and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm rejected. I feel alone. So rather than feeling sorry for yourselves and making assumptions, which you might actually make a lot of assumptions that have nothing to do with the reality, I'm just going to say it. The new moon is in a tense aspect to Neptune, so you might be misinterpreting things. You might be misreading things. Just say something. Just open up. Speak up, because the other person is probably going to be able to kind of appease your needs and sort of like squash your fears even. And they're probably going to be very compassionate and empathetic in the process also. Now, there is a possibility that you may have to give up on working with someone one-to-one. Maybe you decide to stop working with your financial advisor, with your accountant, with your therapist. So there is a possibility that a one-to-one relationship is on its way out. But I do believe that if you talk to this person, they might be able to make a good recommendation. They might be able to guide you on throughout the process of like transitioning into a different maybe collaboration. I do believe that this is also a great time to focus on your mental health. I'm just going to say it. 12th house is the house of mental health. And if you're thinking, where do I start? What should I do? My recommendation would be to not kick off anything alone around this time, to maybe hire someone or work with someone, or generally just kind of like talk to someone, bring someone else on board. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go into therapy if you don't want to, although that would be a great idea around this time. But it could also be equally good to start kind of like opening up more to your, I don't know, friend, sibling. I'm not saying that they are going to replace a therapist, but what I am saying is that it helps to speak up. It helps to bring things up. Last but not least, if you are in a relationship, there is a possibility that a partner might be dealing with something health-wise. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't be able to overcome the issue, but it may be a process. It may be a journey, and you might be a little bit worried. But remember, again, the worst is probably not gonna come to pass. On the absolute contrary, you've got to have a little bit of faith in how things are going to turn out. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. Aquarians, new moon, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after, in your 11th house. This is a great time to set new goals for the future, my lovely Aquarians, especially Aquarius risings, when it comes to your work, your day-to-day routines, your daily habits, your health, your supporting of others, you're being of service to others on a day-to-day basis. This could be a new moon that brings in a new collaboration work-wise. It could be a collaboration with a group of people. It could be a collaboration with an organization, with an institution. So that's kind of the drill. That's what I'm seeing. I see more than two people coming together. I see a group of people coming together, and it could be in the workspace, very, very likely. You could also start a collaboration, or how should I put it? A new chapter focused on your health that involves a group of people. So maybe you sign up for like a group coaching program, for instance, or you sign up for the gym and you are planning to attend group classes moving forward. I do believe that this new moon can also bring in a fresh start when it comes to your friendship sector. So you might decide, I'm going to make more time for my friends. I'm going to spend more time with them. I'm going to kind of like find ways to include them in my kind of like weekly, monthly sort of calendar and routine. Now, there is also a possibility that this new moon can literally bring in a new friendship, and it could be with someone that you connect with at work or within a health sort of setup. Maybe you meet someone that you really hit it off with at the dentist, for example. That's also a possibility. If anything new comes up work-wise, it's probably worth it from a financial perspective. I did want to add that. Secondly, if you're making any new friends, I will say there is a possibility that you're not fully aligned with them from a values perspective, but is that a good enough reason to, I don't know, completely walk away from the friendship? Probably not. I believe that these people have got some things that they can teach you, and they can also teach you a couple of things about being like flexible and tolerant and accepting. Also, if you're entering a new community of people, a new group of people, do read more, or do ask more, or do inquire more about what it is that you're signing up for from a financial perspective. Because let's say you enter a new group of people and they expect you to, I don't know, like show up for like classes every week, and that comes with a cost of some sorts. So whatever it is that you're saying yes to, it's probably something lovely and healthy. But please read more into the price tag that comes attached to this whole thing. That is just my very last recommendation to you, Aquarians. And Pisces suns and Pisces risings, 20th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a new moon, oh my God, in your 10th house, ruled by Jupiter in the 5th house of fun, creativity, creative self-expression. So many things, Pisces. So you are probably, how should I put it? You're probably not even realizing how big this is at the time when it's happening. Something major is kicking off from a professional perspective, but also potentially from the perspective of your place in the world, your status in the world. But you're very skeptical. So I believe that around this time you're thinking, oh, maybe this is not a big deal. No, this is nothing major. I shouldn't read too much into it. Who knows what's going to come out of it? No. This is very big. So please don't be cynical. That is what I recommend to you, Pisceans. A new career opportunity may very well come up. At the same time, this might involve you leaving behind an existing role, an existing position, should you go for it. I mean, obviously, you're the captain of your own ship. You have free will. You can decide. But to me, it looks like any new opportunity coming up is probably going to allow you to maybe express yourselves creatively a lot more, do more of what you enjoy doing professionally, get involved with the types of projects and maybe even the types of people that you enjoy working with. So basically, I believe you're going to love this new opportunity if any door sort of like opens up. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I want to break into a new sector, a new industry, am I ready to do this? Should I take any steps in this direction? The answer is yes. Do it. Even though you might feel scared, even though you might feel unsure about how this is actually going to work out, you seem to have a lot of like uncertainties around how this is going to play out. My recommendation would be to have faith. As you can tell, I have many recommendations. I don't always have many recommendations, but now I do have them. Have faith, trust yourselves, trust your potential, and trust your lucky stars, because I do believe that you've got your lucky star on your side to this time. There may be changes if you work for someone else at a sort of like leadership level, and even though initially you might be worried, you might be concerned, you might be thinking, oh God, how am I going to work with these people? You're probably going to work beautifully with them. I believe that any changes that could be happening at the top of the ladder are probably going to benefit you, even if you don't know immediately how exactly these are going to play out. There's also a possibility that some of you might have reasons to be very proud around this time of your children. So children might do something, they might do something good. They might have some sort of a success. They might experience some sort of a success that also feels a tiny little bit your own, let's say. But maybe you're once again being quite kind of like skeptical and cynical and thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't read too much into this. Maybe this is not going to be like such a big deal. It probably will be a big deal. So children are making you proud. Don't be afraid to show them. Don't be afraid to show them that you're proud of them. There's also a possibility that some of you could be hearing news of parenthood. So if you are trying to have a baby, if you are trying for a child, then news of pregnancy could be coming up either for you or for your partner. I also believe that you could be kicking off a new project that is very sort of like visible to the outside world, that is kind of like getting a lot of exposure. It could be something that kind of like allows you to tap into your creativity. Maybe you're worried. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm the right person. I don't know if I've got what it takes to complete this. You do. You 100% do. So once again, have a little bit of faith. I do have to say that the new moon is squaring planets in your first house. It looks like others have lots of like hopes and expectations of you and kind of like think really highly of you, but you find it hard to believe in yourselves. Maybe this is the time to actually believe them as opposed to believing your own fears. Just my two cents. That is Pisces. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in for your new moon update. Let us know in the comments how the new moon plays out for you. And once again, if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is written in the stars-astrology.com. Also in the pinned comments, as well as in the description box, is where you will find a link to my website. If you are also active on Instagram and TikTok, I'm especially active on Instagram. I really like posting Instagram stories, just as an FYI. My Instagram handle is Rux Unbelievable. Rux Unbelievable in one word. That is my only Instagram account. It's the same handle on TikTok as well, Rux Unbelievable. But like I said, I'm much more active on Instagram. So if you're there, give me a follow if you want to see also more personal updates. If you find my content useful, interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share with your friends, all of that jazz. And you can also turn on the notifications bell, the little button that will kind of like send you a notification when I post new videos. Thank you once again for tuning in. I really appreciate you, and I will see you on the other side. Bye.